All right, let's talk TechCrunch Disrupt. Every year, it kind of gives us a sneak peek into the future of the startup world, right? But believe me, this year was different. We're going to decode the one massive takeaway from Disrupt 2025, and it's this: a brand new mandate that is totally flipping the script on what VCs are actually funding.
So let me just throw this out there. What if the era of easy software startups is over? I mean, what if the playbook that gave us a whole decade of software unicorns is just done? The vibe from the entire conference was basically screaming the answer, and it points to this huge seismic shift in how things are done.
You know, what we saw at Disrupt 2025 wasn't just another trend. No, this was a full-on pivot, a totally new mandate for what gets funded, what gets built, and ultimately what actually scales. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, Section 1, a new investment mandate. We're talking about a shift from speculative software to deployable deep tech. Really, the big theme here was this huge strategic shift in venture capital. You can feel it. Investors aren't just walking, they're sprinting away from the old model and towards something completely new.
So here's the pivot, laid out plain and simple. The old way, it was all about speculative software, consumer apps. But let's be real, that market is saturated. The new thesis? It's all about deployable, high-impact deep tech. We're talking about stuff you can actually touch, tangible solutions for massive, real-world problems. Things like global infrastructure, medicine, security, the hard stuff.
Okay, so theory is one thing, but the best way to really get what this new mandate is all about, you got to look at the companies that actually won. These are the startups that investors put their money on. They're the living proof of this whole thesis.
So check these out, our three big examples, straight from the startup battlefield. You've got the winner, Glīd, in the logistics and mobility space with hybrid electric tech. Then the runner-up, Nephrogen, they're in biotech, using AI for gene therapy. And a major finalist, Polygraf AI, focusing on enterprise security. You seeing the pattern here? Every single one is tackling a hard problem with some seriously deep tech.
So let's talk about the big winner, Glīd, who walked away with $100,000. They're going after what they call shipping's oldest problem. And yeah, it's a big one: constant, grinding port congestion. Their solution is this thing called the GliderM Dome. It's a special hybrid electric vehicle that just grabs a shipping container right off the ship and zips it over to the rail. It cuts out all that waiting around, all those extra machines. It's just a perfect blend of logistics, mobility, and climate tech all rolled into one.
Now look at this number, 100x. This isn't just a small step up. This shows you the crazy scale of disruption we're talking about. The runner-up, Nephrogen, is using AI to create gene therapies for kidney disease. And they're not just making things a little bit better. Nope. Their system can target kidney cells with 100 times more efficiency than what we have now. That's not an update. That's a full-blown revolution.
And then there's Polygraf AI. Look, we live in a world where AI can create super convincing fakes and leak data like crazy. So, enterprise security, it's never been more important. What Polygraf does is use its own special small language models inside a zero-trust system to lock down a company's data. This is a critical need, like digital plumbing, and investors totally got it. They just closed a $9.5 million seed round basically at the conference.
Okay, so these companies, Glīd, Nephrogen, Polygraf AI, they're not just random success stories. They're signals. They're pointing to 4 huge macro trends that are now the driving force behind all this venture capital.
And here they are. These are basically the 4 pillars of this new investment mandate. First up, vertical AI is absolutely dominating the general models. Second, sustainability has to come with a real ROI. Third, fintech is all about building resilient infrastructure now. And finally, number 4, mobility money is shifting hard into industrial and B2B stuff.
So let's break that first one down. Vertical AI. What does that even mean? Well, it's not about building the next ChatGPT. No. It's exactly what companies like Nephrogen and Polygraf AI are doing. They're using their own very specific AI for one industry to get a huge, massive advantage that no one else can copy. So think less about general smarts and more about that insane 100x gain in one super specific, super important area.
And on the sustainability front, we're seeing what you could almost call the Glīd effect. See, Glīd's vehicle isn't just a nice-to-have for the planet. It saves ports millions of dollars by cutting down on congestion and fuel costs. The takeaway here is huge. Investors are backing climate tech, but only when it's directly tied to immediate, measurable bottom-line benefits.
So, the crucial question is,
how do you actually use all this? What do you do with this information? Well, for founders and investors alike, Disrupt 2025 basically handed us a playbook for how to navigate this crazy environment, which is full of both signal and a whole lot of noise.
Think of the conference as having two completely different zones. You've got Startup Alley, that's the main floor. It's packed with thousands of companies, which creates a ton of noise. It's super hard to find the gems. But then you have the signal, and that comes from the Startup Battlefield 200. This is a hand-picked, curated list of the best pre-Series A companies. And here's the kicker. The really smart investors know this list comes out months before the event, and that becomes their homework, their main target list.
Okay, let's bring this all home. It's time for some direct, actionable advice, whether you're out there building a company or you're the one writing the checks.
All right, if you're a founder, listen up. The takeaways are crystal clear. 1. The bar is ridiculously high now. You can't be thinking about small improvements. You need to be benchmarking against those 100x gains. 2. Nail your value prop. Seriously, drop the buzzwords and just tell people what problem you solve and how you solved it. Simple. And 3. Use those curated gateways. They're there to help you cut through all that noise on the main floor.
And if you're an investor, your strategy has got to change. First thing, hunt for theme convergence. Look for companies like Glīd that are hitting multiple big themes at once. Logistics, mobility, climate, that's the sweet spot. Second, your homework, your due diligence. It starts the second that SP200 list is published, way before the conference. And number 3, and this is a big one, you should be using Disrupt to close deals, not to discover them for the first time.
So, when you boil it all down, the message from Disrupt 2025 couldn't be clearer. The money, the capital, it's all flowing to the builders, the scientists, the engineers who are tackling the world's hardest, most tangible problems. The era of deep tech isn't coming, it's already here. So, I guess that just leaves one question. What are you building?